What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to Cowboys News TV, your go-to source for all things Dallas Cowboys. I'm your host, Dave, and today, we're diving into the latest round of Cowboys bashing from none other than ESPN personality Stephen A. Smith. That's right, Stephen A. is at it again, taking shots at our very own Dak Prescott during a recent interview with Boardroom. But before we get into the juicy details, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're on the road to 12,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without your support. Your subscription helps us grow and continue to bring you the best Cowboys coverage on YouTube. So, if you love hearing about everything Cowboys, subscribe now and join our growing community. Alright, Cowboys Nation, let's get into it. If you're familiar with Stephen A. Smith, you know that he takes great pleasure in being one of the loudest Cowboys haters out there. Whenever the Cowboys stumble, he's the first one laughing, usually all over his social media, stirring up the pot. And recently, he's taken another jab, but this time, it wasn't after a game, it was about Dak Prescott's contract. In a sit-down interview with Boardroom, Stephen A. was talking about his own contract negotiations with ESPN. Now, as you might have heard, there's a rumor floating around that Stephen A. is looking for a 5-year, $100 million deal. And what does he do? He compares himself to none other than Dak Prescott. Stephen A.'s exact words? He said, Dak Prescott just signed a contract for $240 million, he's making $60 million a year, and has won 2 playoff games in 8 years. I've been number 1 for 12 years. In our respective industries, I win. I'm fully aware of what I'm worth. Cowboys fans, how does that sit with you? Let us know in the comments section. Do you think Stephen A. was out of line for taking a shot at Dak in the middle of his own contract talks? We want to hear from you. Now, let's break down this comparison. Stephen A. might be a big name in sports media, but how fair is it to put himself on the same level as an NFL quarterback, especially when that quarterback is Dak Prescott? Sure, Dak's had some ups and downs in the playoffs, but let's not forget, he's led the Cowboys to multiple playoff berths and has dealt with an immense amount of pressure as the leader of America's team. Stephen A. is great at what he does, being loud, opinionated, and stirring up controversy. But does that really compare to the on-field pressure that Dak faces every season, leading a franchise with the highest expectations in the NFL? Cowboys Nation, we'd love to hear your take on this. Do you think Stephen A. has a point, or is this just another case of him talking trash for the sake of headlines? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to vote in our community poll on this topic. Now, we all know Stephen A. Smith thrives off these kinds of comments. He knows that calling out the Cowboys gets attention. But Cowboys fans, we've heard this all before, right? Stephen A. has been hating on the Cowboys for years, and while his digs are sometimes good for a laugh, we know how much passion and effort our team puts in. Dak has led the Cowboys through some tough seasons, and despite injuries and setbacks, he's been one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And speaking of contracts, Dak's deal was well earned. The man has been the face of this franchise for years, carrying the weight of the Cowboys' expectations on his shoulders. With $240 million over 4 years, Dak is one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in the NFL, and for good reason. In his time with the Cowboys, he's thrown for over 24,000 yards and 166 touchdowns. While the playoff wins haven't been as frequent as we'd like, the potential is still there. And with the roster we've got heading into this season, don't be surprised if Dak and the Cowboys make a deep playoff run. Do you believe Dak has what it takes to lead the Cowboys to a Super Bowl this season? Let us know in the comments below. Now, let's bring it back to Stephen A. for a moment. It's no secret that he's looking to secure a big bag from ESPN. Rumors say he's aiming for $100 million over 5 years, which is certainly no small sum. But it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Stephen A. is criticizing Dak for his contract while asking for his own massive deal. And let's not forget, Stephen A. himself is part of the media circus that helps keep the Cowboys brand one of the most valuable in all of sports. Every time he takes a shot at the Cowboys, it just adds more fuel to the fire. Cowboys fans, who's really winning here? Stephen A. might think he's coming out on top, but at the end of the day, it's the Cowboys who keep the conversation going, whether it's good or bad. And let's face it, even when Stephen A. is hating, he's still talking about our team. The Dallas Cowboys remain one of the most talked about franchises in all of sports, and there's no denying the power of the star. How do you feel about Stephen A.'s continued shots at the Cowboys? Do you think he genuinely dislikes the team, or is it all just for show? Let us know in the comments, and let's see what Cowboys Nation thinks.
Alright, let's talk about Najee Harris and the respect he's showing for the Cowboys. During a recent interview, Harris opened up about the challenge that Dallas will bring to Pittsburgh this weekend. Despite the Cowboys being 2-2 and dealing with injuries, Harris didn't hold back his admiration for the organization and the team's overall mentality. Here's what Harris had to say. The Cowboys have always been a good team, especially organizational-wise. What they bring is always a mentality for a good team. They are down a couple of guys, but they got a lot of guys that are playmakers, and it should be challenging. Cowboys fans, how does it feel to hear that kind of respect from a player like Najee Harris? Let us know in the comments section. Do you agree with his assessment of the Cowboys' organizational strength and ability to stay competitive, even with key players missing? We want to hear from you. Now, we know that both teams have a lot riding on this matchup. For the Cowboys, sitting at 2-2, this game is crucial. October is shaping up to be a tough month, with challenging opponents lined up, and a win in Pittsburgh could provide the momentum the Cowboys need to push forward. Harris himself acknowledged how competitive the Cowboys can be, even in the face of adversity. Meanwhile, the Steelers come into this game with a 3-1 record, but they just suffered their first loss of the season in Week 4. They're still at the top of the AFC North, but the Ravens are hot on their heels, so Pittsburgh knows they can't afford another loss. Another interesting point Harris touched on was the historic rivalry between the Cowboys and the Steelers. These two legendary franchises have clashed 33 times over the years, including 3 memorable Super Bowl matchups. Harris, being a fan of football, recognized the significance of this rivalry and how much it means to both teams and their fans. As Harris put it, "I'm aware of the history of being a football fan. That history is deep, Cowboys Nation." While Dallas leads the all-time series with 17 wins compared to Pittsburgh's 16, the Steelers hold an edge where it counts most: Super Bowl victories. They've beaten the Cowboys in 2 out of 3 Super Bowl matchups, so you know this rivalry brings a little extra energy to the field. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys-Steelers rivalry? Does it still feel like a classic matchup for you, or do you think the intensity has shifted in recent years? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Sunday night's game will be a tough test for the Cowboys, especially with some key players potentially missing due to injuries. But as Najee Harris mentioned, Dallas is still full of playmakers. Even though guys like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are dealing with injuries, this roster has plenty of talent to give Pittsburgh a fight. This is where players like Ryan Flournoy, who's stepping up in the absence of Brandon Cooks, could have a breakout moment. And let's not forget the leadership from veterans like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, who will be looking to make big plays to keep the Cowboys in the win column. As we approach game day, both teams are in must-win mode. The Cowboys need this win to stay on track in the NFC East, while the Steelers are trying to maintain their lead in the AFC North. This matchup is sure to be intense, and we can't wait to see how it plays out. Let's get those predictions rolling in the comments. How do you think this game will go down? Will the Cowboys rise to the challenge and pull off a big win in Pittsburgh? Or will the Steelers get the best of them at home? Let us know your score predictions and which players you think will be the key to a Cowboys victory. Before we wrap things up, a quick reminder, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We're so close to hitting 12,000 subscribers, and we need your help to get there. Make sure you subscribe to Cowboys News TV and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow Cowboys fans. Thanks for tuning in, Cowboys Nation. We'll see you back here after the game for a full recap and analysis. Until then, keep the faith, and go Cowboys!